Alright, so let's start by actually looking at what each of these symbols mean. The backwards E means there exists. The upwards down A means for all. This upward arrow thing, like just the arrowhead pointing up, means and the way you can remember it is like this looks like an A, so it's like an and. And then the downwards one is the opposite to it, so or, like, one is and, the other one is or, they're like opposites. So these ones are opposites as well. So that's how you can remember it. And this arrow means implies. However, you have written here a single arrow. I don't know if that's how your question was actually written or if you copied a double arrow and made it into a single one, but the correct symbol for implies is this double arrow here. It's like an equal sign and then a great stand sign. But that's just a bit of a formality. I know what you mean by this. So let's go through each of these statements. So the first one, we have a there exists symbol and then x, and then a for all symbol and then y. So there exists some x such that for all y, so there exists some x in the real numbers actually, let's say, so that we're because that's what the question stipulates. There exists some x in the real numbers such that for any y in the real numbers, this holds. Xy is equal to y. Uh, so yeah, essentially, what this is saying, it's like you can always find some x, and it's actually just x equals 1, right? Because you have to multiply y by something to get y. This x is always equal to 1. Um, Anyway, so yeah, the next one is for any x and y in the real numbers, right? We have the for all here. So for any x and y in the real numbers, for all, for any, it's the same thing. You can sort of use them interchangeably. So for any x and y in the real numbers, and then here, all these brackets may be confusing. When you see an arrow like this, right? On the left hand side of the arrow, it means if this, then this, right? This implies this. So for any x and y in the real numbers, if x is greater than or equal to 0 and y is less than 0, then x minus y is greater than 0. Alternatively, the way you can write it, rather than if and then, you can write for any x and y in the real numbers, x is greater than 0 and y is less than 0 implies that x minus y is greater than 0. Both of these are correct, there's just two different ways of phrasing them. And finally, for the last statement, for any x and y in the real numbers, there exists some z in the real numbers such that x is equal to y plus z. So usually when you don't have when you just have for all there exists on some letters and then straight up an equation, you can just add a such that in between, right? So for all of these, uh, we we have some we have a z such that x is equal to y plus z. So I hope you found this helpful.